Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be checking out Planet Coaster Console Edition. For those of you who don't know, this is a console port of the original Planet Coaster on PC. I will be comparing them both graphically, content-wise, as well as ease of use, and much more. So without any further ado, let's get to it. The console version starts out like normal with King Coaster running in the background and eventually kicking the earth towards you. And then it takes you to this really nice title screen. I actually like this title screen because it adds a little pizzazz to the game. A really well-designed title screen can always give the players some sort of happiness or some sort of enjoyment that the game that they're about to play is going to be fun and enjoyable for however long they play it. Now, of course, after this title screen, you are taken to the screen setup page. All it is just a calibration to ensure that your brightness and your frame settings are set to your TV specifications. And then it throws DLC in your face. And that's not the thing to laugh about. The real funny thing is that they only have the Magnificent and Classic Ride collections. There's no other DLC. Planet Coaster has the Ghostbusters update, the Magnificent Rides, and the Classic Rides update. They have the Shooting Ride update. They have so many updates that I can't even name them all, and I'll just probably throw them on screen right here because I'm a little lazy shit. However, why isn't all this DLC available at launch? It just doesn't make sense. Back on this beautifully crafted title screen, we have our usual suspects. We have the career mode, we have sandbox mode, and of course we have the challenge mode. Now, one thing I need to talk about is the Frontier Workshop. What's that, I hear you ask? What's the Frontier Workshop? Oh, it's nothing. It's just Frontier's way of combating the fact that there's no Steam Workshop. Who thought this was a good idea? That's right, folks. Frontier took it upon themselves to make the Frontier Workshop, a little sharing community to share in-game creations, parks, buildings, coasters, whatever you want. Only problem is, it's in its early stages, it's only for console, and quite frankly, it's atrocious. I personally actually kind of feel bad for the Frontier Workshop only because it doesn't have the player base as the Steam Workshop has. The Steam Workshop has thousands of pages of items, coasters, parks, you name it. And the console edition just has some buildings and some parks and some coasters. For the most part, they did well with what they had. I know they're going to improve upon it in the future, so hopefully with future updates, the Frontier Workshop will show more life and show more creativity within it. Coming to the Browse tab, we see all the different categories: coasters, track rides, parks, buildings, scenery, and shops and facilities. Last but not least, we have the My Profile tab showing your uploads, your subscriptions, your favorites, and so on and so forth. Going into the career tab, we see a bunch of starter parks that you can start out with. You see a tutorial as well as some parks that can be unlocked as you progress further in your career. Sandbox mode, obviously you know what that is, and then your challenge mode. You're able to select a park and make a challenge for yourself, and maybe even upload it to the Frontier Workshop to challenge others. In order to test in-game capabilities, I'll be going to the sandbox mode, and I will be building a simple aerodynamics looper with a simple lift hill, a loop, and an airtime hill, and I will have to bring the coaster back into the station. Of course, you have your usual suspects of parks that you can choose from: grassland, desert, tropical, alpine, you name it. Today I'm just going to use a basic empty alpine park, and I will see you in-game. So here we are in Planet Coaster Console Edition. As you can see, everything looks to be in order. You're in the park right now. You have your little display bar at the bottom. Everything seems to be in order as like it's the PC version. Of course, you can see in the bottom right, there's a few extra button commands, so letting you know what buttons do what, because Lord knows I can't remember what the hell does what. For being an Xbox game, I will say that it's actually really running well. I mean, the graphics look great, the ability for running a smooth frame rate is there, going into the menus and different tabs are nice and smooth, there's no slowdown at all. If there appears to be slowdown on the video, it's only because of the YouTube compression. All in all, this game just looks absolutely fantastic. We have a multi-select button here, so that way you can select multiple items at once, and you can move them, delete them, do whatever you want with them. Going back to the coasters tab, which is the main highlight of this game, hence the name Planet Coaster. Here we can see all the different pre-builds that shows the base ride and its levels of excitement, fear, and nausea. So all these are the pre-builds that Frontier has put in automatically, so that way you can just put those in your park. You don't have to worry about building a custom coaster. I will say though, they do have some different models and some different layouts of different coasters that are not seen on the PC version, so I guess these are just console exclusive or anything of that nature. As you can tell though, if you want to create a custom coaster, all you have to do is go over to the custom creation tab by hitting the right stick, and there's all your coasters. Every single one seems to be accounted for from the PC version. No major changes need to be made, and quite frankly, this is strictly just a PC version of Planet Coaster ported over to console. I mean, every coaster's here and everything seems to be in order. The only things that are missing, of course, from my version of Planet Coaster is that I own all the DLC from Planet Coaster PC Edition, and they only have 2 pieces of DLC for the console version, so I don't know if they're going to add the rest of the DLC. I guess that's something we're going to have to wait on. As you can see from the top, they do have new categories, not just standard, inverted, whatever, like just the basic categories. They actually have ranked each coaster based on what they do. You have your standard class, your wooden/hybrid class, the launched class, suspended class, the wing class, and the special class. Now, one thing I want to mention is that there was some sort of like a promotion deal with the console version that if you got the console version, then you get this special like version of a RMC hybrid, I would want to say, like with the topper track and all that. Apparently, I don't have that. So I'm going to pause this. I'm going to go look it up real fast, and I'm going to see what's going on.
No.
Got him! Are you f***ing kidding me? Alright, this game's already on my list, so let's just start playing the damn thing and get this going. So here we are trying to place our aerodynamics looping coaster. For some reason, this game has some weird like blur effect. I don't even know if you just saw the bird there, but it's almost like a shadow effect. Anything that moves has this sort of like flash shadow, I guess you would say. Like I don't know what you call it, but it's like a blur effect. I don't know how to diagnose that, but okay, sure. Naturally, after bitching about some of the poor shadow graphics, we are able to place down our coaster, and everything is still controlled via the thumbsticks, placing the coaster, modifying the coaster track, anything of that nature. Of course, something that I noticed is that there is no ability to form the coaster to your own dimensions. Everything snaps to a grid, either at 22.50 degrees, 45 degrees, etc. You can't do like a custom 36.9 degree angle. There's no custom ability in this game, so I don't know if that's going to be a future update or it's just not going to be possible on console edition. I would assume that it's not possible on console edition only because it doesn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things having a console controller making pinpoint accurate markings. I'm assuming that's just going to be PC only, but we shall see with time. Naturally, you have the ability to press multiple buttons at once in order to bank the track. There is still the ability off to the side for banking offset track supports, optional catwalks, etc., as well as coloring each section of track individually instead of coloring it as a whole. Again, the control buttons are still on screen as, well, they just update with whatever you're doing. They don't actually disappear. Allow me to fast forward this next section here as it's just me trying to build the drop. Very simple. Now, once we get to this bottom section here, I had noticed that it automatically was trying to steer me away from the ground, and I was wondering, do I make you nervous? Are the same cheat codes in the menu still? And to my surprise, they are all there. After coming back from the menus and realizing that we have completed our first drop, we are now able to start our first inversion. Of course, going into the inversions menus, we have your loops, your rolls, your non-inverts, etc., etc., and of course, I was just scrolling through, seeing if anything changed, seeing if anything stayed the same. For the most part, they all stayed the same, except for the changes aspect. They added 3 different forms of the loop. They added the 360 loop, they added the wide vertical loop, they added 3 different types of loops on this version of Planet Coaster, but these loops are not available in the PC version, the original version. So that makes me think, are they eventually going to port them over? Are they eventually going to update Planet Coaster PC Edition? What is the future going to hold for the PC version if the console version is getting the newer items? Does that mean that us PC players have to then migrate to the console version? I'm sorry, but I'm gonna need some answers from Frontier on this one. This one has me completely perplexed. So following the challenge's guidelines, I will be placing my loop, and then I will now be placing my airtime hill. Now, of course, it is a little bit slower to place things in this game as I have to use a thumbstick, and there is a little bit of thinking that has to go into it. You don't have the convenience and the ability to use just point and click from like a mouse and a keyboard. So there is some drawbacks with using a controller, but then again though too, that could also be an advantage to some people who have been console players their entire lives. After placing some brakes and a small turn, I wanted to test the in-game's autocomplete feature, which surprisingly still works like usual. After this, I noticed that the time of the day was starting to change and the shadows were starting to set in from the sun setting on the horizon. I do think that Frontier did a better job doing the lighting effects on the console version than they did the PC version. The console version just seems to be smoother and seems to have more of a glow effect to it, where the PC version just seemed to be really abrupt, and at one point it's daytime and then all of a sudden, boom, it's nighttime. So I do think they did perfect it in the console version versus the PC version. At the bottom of the screen, it'll show you some different options and some different settings that you can press in order to change the time of day. You can activate the torch, etc. Here, I'm just changing the time back to daytime, so that way we can actually see something. And with our coaster complete, we can now test it and or ride it. Of course, I am not going to be testing the on-ride camera as I kind of forgot to do that, but I will be testing it and we'll see how it looks. In order to navigate the menus, you can use the D-pad and go over to the selected option that you want and then select it using the A button, and you can go back using the B button.
You stupid.
After smashing my head into the wall and giving up entirely on this roller coaster, now we're going to move on to the rides section, in particular, flat rides. So everything in this category seems to be in order from the PC version. Nothing looks out of place, nothing looks changed, nothing looks removed. The only difference is that I own all the DLC on the PC version, and of course, I don't own any DLC on the console version. Now, if you buy the Magnificent or the Classic Ride collections, you will get bonus roller coasters and rides, as well as some different scenery items to put in your park, but for the most part, you just buy them for the new coasters and the new rides that are included. But just to keep things simple, I'm going to be placing down the Hellion Ring, which is the Larson Super Loop, and it's available in all base games of Planet Coaster, regardless of the platform. Now at the top, you can see that you have all your different place entrance, place exit signs, you have the finances tab, the statistics tab, and there's actually a ride sequence tab, same thing as in the PC version, where you can change the sequence in which the ride operates. However, there is one missing feature which I can fully understand, being that it's a console port, but it just bugs the ever-loving shit out of me, is that there is no option to add custom music to your park and or rides, and there's no custom option for adding your own video or images. If you're unaware, in Planet Coaster PC Edition, you can upload your own music and your own media, such as photos and videos, so that way you can use them as billboards or custom ride audio tracks, either on your rides or throughout the park, using the speakers. For me, as primarily a PC player, it's a big loss, only because I like that little extra piece of personality that you can add to your park by adding custom music or custom images or video. It's just taking your park one step further to making it yours. Meanwhile, the console version over here just kind of feels either empty to some people, or it'll just feel the same. Like everyone's just gonna have a similar park because it just doesn't have that one thing that makes it theirs. However, like I said, features like that, you just don't see that on console games, while PC games are really open to the idea of adding your own custom music or custom audio or just custom items in general. So, like I said, that's just an idea of the PC version being one step further than the console version. So to wrap things up, here is a list of the pros and cons for each edition that I will go over, and at the end I will make my final verdict on which one is better and which one should you pick up. So for the console edition, it's smooth-ish graphics, I will say. The weird shadow effect definitely has me a little off guard at times, but for the most part, I kind of got used to it. I wasn't happy with it, but I mean, you know, take it or leave it, it's fine. There's more coaster elements, there's a lot more loops, there's a lot more different variety when it comes to inversions, so I definitely think that's a big plus, and I actually think that's something they need to bring to the PC version, let alone have it on the console version. This game is very easy to learn, but it's also incredibly hard to master. Doing this on a controller with less buttons and less controllability over your pointer is definitely a really hard thing to master, but after a minute or two, it's easy to learn. It's not too advanced. This game is on Xbox Game Pass, so like me, I played it on Game Pass. If you have Xbox Game Pass, you can very easily pick this game up and play it whenever you want, and there is no fiddling with the graphics. Whatever your console can handle, that's just how it's going to handle it. There's no fiddling with settings. There's no, oh, I can't run it at max settings because I don't have the 2080 or the 3080 or whatever the hell 80. It's just simple. It's a very simple game. You can pick it up, you can start playing it, and you can start building to your heart's content, and without worrying about, is my game going to start lagging or no? Some of the negativity surrounding the console version includes, as like I said earlier, there's some weird fade, like washed out effect, and a little bit of stuttering. Certain things need to be updated and certain things need to be fixed. That's a given. The game just came out. It's in its early stages. I'm sure with more and more updates, the game will become more stable and more reliable. The controller setup is awfully wonky, if you ask me. I don't like the controller setup, but then again, I've never liked controllers to begin with. I'm a very big advocate for mouse and keyboard. That's just me, but again, you can use a mouse and keyboard with these consoles these days, so who knows, maybe they'll actually create compatibility with mouse and keyboard with the Planet Coaster console edition. The console version does seem a little bit expensive given that there's less DLC content available, so I don't know, you would have to basically toss that one up and say, is it worth it at that point, depending on how much you're going to play it and how much you're going to get out of it. There's no custom RMC like I thought. It's pre-order only. That's a bit of a bummer. And there's no custom music, no theme maker toolkit, and no Steam Workshop. And believe me, there's a lot of stuff that was missing, but it makes up for it graphically and stability wise. If you're looking just for a basic Planet Coaster experience where you can just build a coaster or maybe even a whole park and not really worry about the graphics being an issue or your main gaming rig being an issue, then go ahead and pick up the console edition. It's a great way to learn Planet Coaster without spending buku bucks on a brand new gaming PC. But then again though too, you're also getting a lot of downsides with it, so you just have to weigh out your options and see what you're interested in. Now the PC edition is my personal favorite. The ease of control using mouse and keyboard is unparalleled to anything I've ever experienced before, so that's definitely a big up in my book. It has the Steam Workshop, which has a higher player base, since at launch, PC was the only way to go, so the Steam Workshop was the only way of sharing your creations at the time. So hopefully with time, the Frontier Workshop will become more populated and will become more of an equal platform, that of the Steam Workshop. Every piece of content ever released is on the PC version, as that was the main version since launch, and there is the Theme Maker Toolkit and the ability to add custom music / media. So honestly, those two by themselves are, again, big ups in my book, and you can customize your graphics settings. You can change your graphics to potato to beautiful. But some of the negatives include less elements for coasters, and it's very, very dependent on your hardware. I'm running a NVIDIA GTX 1080, which is somewhat out of date, but for the most part, it's still pretty powerful to run certain games these days. Of course, I am looking to upgrade my GPU soon, so hopefully I can get some better graphics in my videos for you guys. The game lags very early into building your parks, and I'm stuck to either building a little carnival or maybe a smaller size theme park, maybe like a pier park, but even then the game will lag. The problem is with the PC version is if you don't have a computer that of a NASA computer, the game's gonna lag and it's not gonna be an enjoyable time for the most part. This game is very dependent on the DLC to unlock new coasters and different forms of content, and the sad thing that I hate to report out on is that I don't think this game is getting any more updates. The last update that we got was the Ghostbusters update, and I just feel like that was filler content. I don't really feel like that was a grand sign off, like, okay, this is our last piece of content, bye, we're gonna go out with a bang and give it Ghostbusters. I think the Ghostbusters update was just out of left field. I think they wanted something that they can license and put in the game and be able to say, oh yeah, this is a pretty big update. So with all that wrapped up, that will conclude today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. In the end, I will have to say that the PC version is the best version. However, if you don't feel like dropping all the money on an expensive gaming computer and just want to play Planet Coaster without having to worry about graphics or anything of that nature, then by all means, go ahead and pick up the game. The console version is about $50, while the PC version is about $45. However, the Xbox version does have less content than the PC version, but I'm sure that they'll be releasing more as time goes on. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with me in saying that the PC version is the superior version of Planet Coaster? Do you think I'm wrong, and do you think the console version is better? Is there anything that I left out in this video that needs to be mentioned? Go ahead and leave me a comment down below letting me know your thoughts and opinions. I love hearing from you guys. And if you guys really enjoyed this video, the easiest way of showing it is to leave a like. It helps me out immensely. And last but not least, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all my newest uploads. So with that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.